Hello and welcome to another episode of the Help Is Here podcast brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. We're back in the podcast studio. Welcome on the show, Mary Paulus. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good day so far. Yep.
Nice one, nice one. It's Packers drew last night.
Oh man. They didn't lose, put it that way, but they didn't win either. It was a tie. It was a shootout. Yeah, it was interesting. Put it that way.
Yeah. Were you
It's
winning
hard
at any
being a
point?
Packer fan, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Were you winning at any point or?
yes, at the very beginning for a little while. But at halftime, right before halftime, we went down by 3 points. But then the second half was just a shootout, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right to the last 1 second. The last 1 second, we kicked a field goal and tied it. So,
Oh, really?
but we still it helped. It's better in our standings to have a tie than to have a loss. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. Could be
That's good.
worse.
That's
Yeah.
good. So it's a bit like in football, let's say we were losing 3-2 and then we scored a last minute goal to make it 3-0. It's a bit like that.
Yeah. Exactly. And then
All
you
right.
end it. Yep.
Sweet, sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk a bit about porn addiction. I want to talk about neuroscience and the hijacking of the brain as such. I want to talk about the conventional approach towards understanding, addiction in general. I suppose what's going on in society, the epidemic. There's a lot I want to talk about. I want to talk about philosophy a bit today. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about, if I'm honest with you. I'm not quite sure where to start, but what's led to me wanting to have this conversation is I've been trying to create a new YouTube video where I get across my current understanding of the addiction epidemic and what's going on with neuroscience being the kind of like the top of the hierarchy. So I guess to start this conversation off, suppose how long have you been working in addiction recovery? Maybe we can just go back and forth a bit. It'll help me understand things a bit better. I want to understand kind of the landscape of addiction recovery, what's been going on, and maybe we'll learn something from each other, right? So first of all, you've been working in addiction recovery, what, like 36 years, right?
Hey, something like that. Yeah, 35. I would have to think back. I think that I did Patricia's program in 87,
Hmm.
1987. So, and then I started working with her shortly after I did her class. So, how many years is that? 1987, 97, 2007, 2017,
It's 38.
36 or 38. Yeah. So a long damn time, Tom.
Yeah, yeah, a long
Yeah.
time.
Since
Now,
87, basically.
when you started, how often were people talking about any of the neuroscience? Like, how often would someone say that something hijacks their brain? Because this is something that I hear quite a lot, from people struggling with porn. Something I used to think as well is that like porn hijacks the brain because there's a lot of talk about hijacking the reward circuitry, the dopamine circuit, different things like that. But when you started out, was that sort of language common, or is that something that's more recent then?
Well, people may have been talking about it, but you didn't know it because they were doing it at universities and whatever. They're not on the internet in your face screaming at you about it. So we never talked about it at all. Not at all. You know, we knew that the script worked because in the nicotine addiction program that, you know, Patricia was teaching, and when I started working for her and did her class, we had a six in with big groups, we had a success rate of consistently 75%, which is like unheard of for nicotine, especially in a big group like that. Working individually with someone would maybe be a higher success rate. And my success rate was higher when I started working with individuals for nicotine addiction. But yeah, I kept the statistics, and we didn't consider someone a success until they'd been off smoking for a full year. So we knew that it was working. We knew that we were connecting to the neural pathway of compulsive desire, but we didn't speak of it in those terms. We didn't speak about neuroplasticity. We never talked about that at all. So,
Mm.
you know,
But back then, did you still have like neural pathways being part of the language in the script?
no. As a matter
No,
of fact, no.
really?
I put that in there. I changed that.
Oh, really?
Yep, mhm. It was just, well, I don't wanna go I'm not gonna go into the details of the
Yeah, yeah.
script.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah, I added that because now neuroplasticity, changing neural pathways is very much trendy, so people relate to it, um, I think.
People understand it a little bit better, I guess. But
Yeah,
I think the key thing is that the solution has to start with an understanding of the problem and then focused on, okay, well, how do we actually like solve that problem? Like
right.
instead of it coming from the angle of like, right, let's understand the neuroscience first
Yeah,
and then we're going to try solve it. But I think so what you're saying then is because I honestly didn't like know this. Like I had no idea that you've added in neural pathways. That's already quite
yeah,
interesting to me. But
yeah,
basically, what's happened then is like whoever you were taught the beyond compulsion method by, Patricia, right?
yeah.
They were focused on okay, how do we understand this problem, then solve the problem, but there wasn't any sort of neuroscience involved at that point in time to solve it, right?
Well, neuroscience was happening, but nobody was using those terms. And the thing is now it's so trendy, everybody's talking about it, but at the same time, they're not offering an actual comprehensive way to change the neural pathways. It's like, okay, well, you can change your neural pathways. So now you want to stop this addiction, go to the gym and work out. That's not going to change those pathways.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I feel like the one thing that is useful is letting people know that neural pathways can be changed, you
Mm.
know, and then we give them a way to change them. But when they think, oh my God, I'm just wired this way and this is just the way I am and all that, well, that actually, it is possible to change. So, in that aspect, in that regard, I think that the neuroscience is useful. But
Mm.
beyond that, I don't think it's very useful because unless you're gonna give somebody a tool and a way to change it, then it doesn't. I mean, what good is that information?
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
my big problem with it is that it is so sort of esoteric. Like it's so like
right,
intangible. Like there's no real okay, well, how are we actually going to change your behavior then?
right.
Which is
Mhm.
where it goes wrong because you can understand so much about the neuroscience, and that's what I'm finding is I'll talk to guys like day in day out who know all the neuroscience and they've read Your Brain on Porn and many of these other books, and they've read the other books by the neuroscientists, etc. Maybe they're listening to Huberman Lab or whatever. But a lot of these guys are struggling, like really, really struggling. And I think there's this
Yeah,
illusion of progress going on where they feel like they're making progress because they're learning more and more, but because it's so abstract, like it's so far away from actually solving this problem, it kind of makes things even worse because then it's like, well, I'm doing all this stuff because you're kind of
yeah,
presented with this idea that you're making progress, but then you end up relapsing. And it's like, well, I know everything about dopamine, but how come I keep on doing this thing that's destroying my life? But, all of this sort of stuff is starting to make more and more sense to me because it's so far away from what we call, the inevitable moment of compulsive desire. Like right now, in this moment, I've got this desire going on in my brain. But the neuroscience is so far away from that moment. Like what what has like neuroscience actually got to do with that critical choice that you have for yourself?
yeah,
And also that word choice is so important here as well. Because I think a lot of the neuroscience is it makes you feel like there's something going on in your brain that's like completely pulling the strings, but there's no education on what we call like the addicted part of the mind and the actual thoughts going on. So even if, like, let's say you had some evolutionary based desire for pornography, okay, but what are the actual thoughts that come out of that perhaps evolutionary based desire, right? The actual thoughts would be, well, it's essentially things like bullshit in that moment of compulsive desire, like once won't hurt. This isn't that bad. Everyone does it. It's normal. I just look once, then I'll stop. This is kind of the sort of area that we focus on, which is the actual thought patterns, which is so much more valuable. And I was reading this book recently called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it was very interesting in this book because it makes you think in almost like a different way in a way. I think the author's a dickhead, to be very blunt. He just seems like a terrible person who treats his son really, really awful. But what he's talking about in this book, I understand it, is that how I understand it anyway, is that what he's saying is that oftentimes we're trying to arrive at some truth in a way, but he was like a scientist and well, I don't think he was like a full-on scientist, but he was conducting these hypotheses, I should say. And the more I don't even know. I don't need to know, right? But he's doing these experiments, right? He's got these what is it? Hypotheses, is it?
Yeah,
Hypotheses, right? Yeah, I'm so bad at saying that
hypotheses,
word.
I think. Yeah,
Oh god, I'm
sounds
clueless.
good.
But yeah, this is the thing, is like intellectually I might not be the smartest guy, or I might not have the best vocabulary, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to a lot of things. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, so he's got these hypotheses, or sis, or whatever,
those
and he
things. Yeah.
he found that the more he was doing these, the more he wanted to do. And there was actually like an indefinite amount of these hypotheses. And because of that, because there was more and more and more, the deeper he went into like science and conducting these experiments and so on, he found that he was getting further and further away from a place where he did have sort of certainty, and things became kind of almost more uncertain in a way. And he was getting further and further away from like what he'd call the truth. It was very interesting because it kind of reminded me of compulsion in that sometimes, unless we're focusing on the problem and understanding just simple things, we can kind of go down this rabbit hole where we learn more and more and more and more and more. But the further we go down that rabbit hole, the more we learn. It's almost like the more we're getting brainwashed into believing something else is the problem, and we're getting further and further away from just like right now, what am I choosing to do and why? And like the simplicity of solving this problem. But anyway, I've had a lot going on in my mind with all of this. I'm probably not articulating it particularly well, so I'll pause for now. Is any of that making sense or resonating in any way?
I'm gonna go all the way back to the what did you the evolutionary desire. Well,
Yeah,
cavemen didn't have porn.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
whatever, they didn't have the internet or whatever, but, there was something else I was gonna say on what you just said. What did you just say? The last thing you said?
God knows what I was just saying.
I know, right? I was thinking about, I should have take some notes because you said a lot right there. Yeah, it's,
And Mary, on that point though, like just
yeah,
how
yeah,
I said so much there, I just want to put it out there that like everything I just said there, again,
yeah,
it's more just kind of waffle that isn't
yeah,
actually helping anyone. Like it's all pointless.
yeah.
Like it
I
will
just
just,
remembered too.
yeah, it'll send your head
I
spinning.
find it all to be, um, when there's so much information when you're trying to solve a problem, I find it paralyzing.
Hmm.
I just am like, okay, and then I'll do nothing because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much information. It's like, what do you do? What do you choose? Well, they say this, and then you find all this contradicting
Mm.
information, and we telling the guys when they join the program, we're going to keep this very simple.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's actually for a lot of them. We just had a message from one recently said that I'm really glad to hear that it will be simple,
Mm.
not to think, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. When the thing is a lot of like, fitness programs or nutrition information, diet stuff, they make it as complicated as possible
Yeah.
because if you're focusing on this really complex thing that you're going to do instead when you want to engage in compulsive desire, it's going to be distracting
Mm.
for a while because it takes so much focus and energy to be able to stick to these, this plan that you've got, when it's just, but then like, when it comes right down to it, you got this desire you're trying to avoid, which is very powerful. You're trying to focus on this complex solution. And for me personally, and I think for a lot of the people out there, it just makes your head explode,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like the mind,
100%.
it's like, and then it's like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything because there's so much advice and so many choices. And, it's like that Dave Matthews song about too many choices.
100%. And
Yeah.
that's it. Is like me trying to explain some of the stuff in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and me like
Yeah.
butchering it on this podcast is like such a perfect example of
Yeah.
why you don't want to go down that route. And like I'm
Yeah.
so happy to still share and publish this podcast because it's probably the best example you could get is like when you try and understand something too complicated, it just makes things way worse. Like it does just send your head spinning. And
Yeah.
I will bring up, and I'm not even going to attempt to try and describe this because I'm quite new to it as a concept, but there's this thing called Occam's razor, and it says, so this is just like from Wikipedia, right? But I came across this in like a YouTube video a little while ago, and it says, in philosophy, Occam's razor is the problem solving principle that recommends searching for explanations constructed with the smallest possible set of elements, which I found really interesting. So, the smallest set of possible elements. So, basically, it's kind of saying that the best solution to a problem is going to be something with as little information around it as possible, in a way. But if you look at like porn addiction recovery, everyone's kind of going down the opposite route, right? Is there's literally because of how the internet works now, it's like there's literally millions of people posting about this topic. You could literally
Oh,
probably watch a million different videos. And what I just really recommend to any listener is whether it's with us, our method, or a different method, once you've found something that does work, like honestly, just stick to it and don't try and consume content by too many varying different people because it will make problems way, way worse than it needs to be. And that is the experience of me and honestly countless guys that we work with. And we just see it day in, day
wow.
out, guys who have just tried
Yeah.
one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. And it just, they end up in this circle, which is horrible. And I want
Well,
people to get out of that.
unanswerable questions are one of the most, pervasive ploys of the addictive part of the mind. And the more information that you get from these outside sources and watch all these different people talking about addiction and whatever, the more questions are going to come up for you.
Mm.
And they're going to be unanswerable questions, guaranteed. There's a lot of like short form content, the reels on all these different people that are recovering, they're sober or whatever. It's everywhere, and the thing is you hear things they say, and then you're going to be asking yourself, well, trying to apply it to your own experience. And here come the unanswerable questions, which will never simplify things. It will
Mm.
complicate things. But that's the addictive part of the mind at work. And the thing is if you don't recognize that, you don't know how to very assertively deal with those unanswerable questions. They just feed on themselves. And you're never going to get free of addiction if you're going to keep on engaging with that kind of thinking, just like from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and being mindful and all that. It's really got to simplify it. And
Yeah.
I think that the script that we teach is very simple. It's based in just like reality. It's very simple, but at the same time, in that simplicity, I think that's one of the things that makes it so powerful because it can bring your focus to what needs to be dealt with in the moment in the pathways, right? And away from all the rest of that crap. Where meditation is one thing, where it's like you can try to meditate and not think about all this other stuff, and get into this Zen state or whatever, but that's not going to connect you directly to the neural pathway of compulsive desire that you need to change, right?
Hmm.
That's going to just it still is another way of trying not to think about it. I'm going to meditate and clear my mind and not think about this problem. it's still doesn't handle it, but there's just so much information. It's like, well, what's a book called? Zen and the Art
Zen
of
and the art of
Motorcycle.
motorcycle maintenance.
Which
Yeah.
really, that right there is like, okay, 2 completely different things. What the hell does Zen have to do with motorcycle maintenance? I mean, nothing. It's just like, okay, let's just start asking questions about the title of the book, you know? It's
Yeah.
kinda cuckoo. So, if that makes any sense at all, I don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the book itself is quite interesting. And like there's definitely a really good reason as to why it's called that, and he brings these different themes sort of together, and there's these like parallels and metaphors and shit like that. But then it also just goes back to, well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a good book if you want like a fiction book, or you just want to explore philosophy. But if you actually want to really get in there and solve one specific problem, yeah, I'm not so
Yeah, not
sure.
so much.
Yeah, maybe too much. There's some good stuff in there on problem solving though, I must say. But I think you do just end up finishing a book like that and you have even more questions and you want to understand things in more depth. And yeah, I think these unanswerable questions is like just one of the biggest things to understand out there right now, because it's almost like the internet is just full of them. It's just like people asking each other unanswerable questions, and it's just a massive
I know.
echo chamber of unanswerable
I know.
questions, so far away from like the present moment. And
It makes my head spin.
yeah,
I'm just like, "Okay." And the thing is if you are specifically trying to overcome an addiction, what are you reading a Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance for? You know what I mean? What does that have to
yeah.
do with anything?
Well, I don't
I
know if
mean,
people would.
I get, people that are, curious and philosophical. I understand that for sure. But, the thing is I think people, I don't know if they think maybe if I think deeper and I understand, the
I
meaning
don't
of
think
life
people
more
are
and
reading this
whatever.
for addiction, by the way, Mary. This isn't like an addiction book at all. This is just a
Yeah.
random like philosophy book from like the 70s that I read recently.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I took it on holiday to Spain last week, and because I read it
Yeah.
like 4 years ago,
Yeah.
because my mum recommended it to me, and I just wanted to read it again. So I do want to add that context. This isn't one of
Sure.
the books to like analyze and bring up an addiction recovery world. It's like
Yeah. Okay. Aside
it's
from that
completely
book,
out of that.
I
Yeah, yeah,
think people go looking for, deeper meaning, and somehow philosophically they're going to find deeper meaning and, spirit take, dive deeper into their spirituality and things like that in an attempt to overcome addiction.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
that is one of the routes that people take, and well, some people get full on into, sort of the born again religion stuff when they're
Mm.
recovering from alcohol or whatever, like that's going to solve the problem when they just end up becoming on a compulsive spiritual journey, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, or philosophical journey when a talk about unanswerable questions. I mean, let's talk about the meaning of life.
yeah,
It's like there's some unanswerable questions, but what do you wanna do? Do you wanna get free of an addiction, Then let's simplify this, and let's get down to what really applies to changing addicted neural pathways so you can get free. And once you get free, then, you wanna go become a philosopher and be a monk on the mountain and whatever, figure out the meaning of life. Have at it, But you're not
yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
do that. You're not never gonna have a clear mind spiritually or philosophically or anything else if you're stuck in an addiction, because that's going to be like, oh God, I want to get out of this. How do I do it? Oh my God. All that kind of stuff. So,
Hundred
yeah.
percent, 100%. And
Yeah.
I think like the starting place with addiction recovery shouldn't be around the neuroscience or around some spiritual journey or around religion. It should be, in my opinion, and obviously it's what's worked for me. But like in your program inside the Beyond Compulsion Academy, I watched the videos again last week.
Cool.
And it was interesting because I think it's only like maybe 1 or 2 minutes in where you say, okay, let's get into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to stop engaging in compulsive behaviors. You have these desires, you have an irresistible desire to act, regardless of the rationality of the motivation. In layman terms, there's this thing that you want to do, and you can't stop doing it. And it's like, okay, well, how do we solve this problem? Now, this is the how to. Let's get into it. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, yeah, like that is all it is. There's a
Yeah.
behavior in your life that you can't stop doing, and it's got these really bad consequences in your life. Okay, how do we stop doing it? That when you break it down, that's what addiction recovery is. Just like moment by moment, how do you cultivate that skill? How do you learn
Yeah.
to think through these choices rationally?
But there's so much information out there that it points to a void in your life. You need to enrich your existence, in order you want to do this addictive behavior, because you have this emptiness or this void, right? Whether it's spiritual, emotional, just lack of connection, whatever that is, that is the reason that you wanna do this addiction, rather than, well, you do this addiction, and then you do feel disconnected and a lot of these other things, so it's about, dealing with the addiction directly, and then, if you still have some, feelings of, like, emptiness, like you don't feel like your life is fulfilling, then maybe you want to pursue some things that are going to improve your life in that way. But that's not the reason that you're engaging in addictive behavior, because you're so empty, I mean,
Mm,
sure, if you're feeling empty and lonely and whatever, and you already have this addiction, it could trigger it for sure, it
yeah.
could trigger wanting to engage, but it's not the reason that you do it,
Mm,
that makes
mm.
sense. Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's a big part of phase two, looking for reasons. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the most critical things to understand is that, yeah, you don't need this like big, crazy explanation as to why you have these desires. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, most people listening to this, they're here to overcome porn addiction. If we just look at the very basic facts, right? Most people we work with, they get hooked. I say hooked. I mean, develop these addictive neural pathways. Like they just break it down even more. Like in the most simple way I can put it, people start watching porn between the ages of 10 and 12 on average. The guys we work with,
Yep.
hundreds of guys. On average, it's probably between 10 and 12. There is some variance, sure. For me, it was around 11 or 12, right? So you start watching porn, and then what happens is you want to watch more porn as time goes on because it becomes this pattern in your brain really where neurons that fire together wire together. Again, we don't really need to get into the neuroscience too much because it's not going to help
Yeah.
much, but what happens is you start to crave porn in certain situations, and people out there in the addiction world, they call it triggers. So for me in the past, I might feel lonely, I might feel disconnected in the past, and then in my brain it was kind of like there was this neural pathway, like this association in my brain between, okay, I feel lonely, I then go watch porn. And there was no sort of space to consider that I actually had a choice in that moment between,
Yeah.
okay, lonely, then porn. Whereas with the script, if you have a tool to actually think through these choices rationally ahead of time, and in that moment, well, then what happens is, okay, you feel lonely and you've got this neural pathway that in the past went lonely to porn. Now what we have is a tool to go, okay, how do I actually think through this rationally and make a choice? And that's an A4 piece of paper. That's how we work, right? So if you really break it down, it's very simple, but there is a lot of depth inside of what you teach, right? And I've watched your program now maybe 8, 9 times, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, that bit there, like that line right there is very,
Yeah.
very important. One of the most important things I found last week watching it again was making this a priority, making freedom from compulsive behavior your number one priority. Do you want to tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that? Like, why did you put that inside the program?
Well, because of the rudimentary junkie thinking. Junkie thinking 101 is, I'm too overwhelmed, I'm too stressed, I don't have time to deal with this, you know? And I mean, I've had a number of people even tell me, my therapist told me now's not a good time for me to deal with my addiction. I mean, that the addictive part of the mind knows that's literally junkie thinking 101, right? I don't have time. I'm too stressed. So, therefore, if you make this agreement with yourself right out of the gate, this is my number one priority. I'm making time. You know, this addiction stresses me out. This addiction makes me feel overwhelmed, and I'm making it a priority, and then, yeah, make an agreement with yourself. You're going to take care of the other shit in your life. You're not going to stop feeding your dog or your kids or whatever, but it's because the addictive part of the mind will go there too. Oh my God, I'm going to ignore my family, and all this kind of shit. It's like, no, no, it's just you're making this a priority. You're still going to feed your kids, whatever. But that's just a basic agreement, that you make with
Mm.
yourself because it can alleviate that rudimentary junky thinking, so you can focus on what you want to
Yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's something else you
Um,
said that I wanted to comment on, but I forget what it is now.
by the way,
I gotta take notes.
some of these
Yeah.
questions are more for the audience than myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think asking some of these
Yeah.
questions though can kind of hopefully explain things a bit further to people. I think the other thing, well, there's two things that come to my mind from you saying that is one. I remember when we had that client who was in like a park with his son, and he had like I don't know, like a 3-year-old son or something, and his
Yes.
3-year-old son, yeah,
Yes.
his 3-year-old son
I'm
was
gonna
like
let my
asking
son
him,
get hit by the car so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I have to use my script, so I'm gonna let my kid get run over. Like, no. But see, that's how crazy the addictive part of the mind gets, when you
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. So
When you
yeah,
don't
make it
know
your
that
number one
yeah.
priority, but
Yeah.
also look after your family. Like,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. But it just
Um,
goes to show how ridiculous the addictive part of the mind will get, trying to get you into feelings of deprivation. Oh my God, I have to use my script to the point that I'm going to let my kid get run over. It's like,
yeah,
no, not the situation. But yeah, you were talking
100%.
about, the guys getting addicted at such a young age, um, and now, I've talked to them in group about how I understand how challenging that can be, to be wired so young to pornography and to connect their sexuality and from wanting it starts with basic sex, wanting sex, or whatever, being horny, whatever, and connecting that to a screen. I was talking to the guys about handwriting their script, you know, and kind of where we gone with kids these days. They can't even write, I mean, but just to have that handwritten script and not to be doing everything on your screen all the time, how
Mm,
that can be really important in the process, to kind of, break free of that growing up with this on the screen constantly,
yeah,
it's a challenge. It's really a challenge, but the thing is these guys, they don't even really know what the possibility is to not live on this screen, you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah,
but the thing is they're not happy doing it. And we've talked about this before. Like, I don't think that humans innately want to be like, oh, no, 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 on a screen like this all the time and with all the short form content and just like that, that doesn't feel good in your brain, And
100%.
so in order to like experience what it's like to just have that peace of mind. And I had 2 Liberation Day calls in a row. Both of the guys, number one thing they were not willing to live without anymore was peace of mind. It's across the board. People want that peace of mind, and it's just addiction, compulsion, and now with so much screen compulsion,
Mm,
that's just not that's not peace in the mind. That's
yeah.
chaos in the mind.
I've got so much to say on all of this as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
go, because 'cause I'm just babbling. I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
you're good, you're good.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, I do find these kind of conversations with you useful though, because your
good.
perspective on it is very different to most of our generation. Like you're a bit more like
Yeah,
clear cut, like what the hell is going on in society right now? Like everyone's
yeah,
on a screen and you kind of need that a bit sometimes because otherwise you just look around and you're like, oh well, everyone's doing it, it's fine, it's normal. But then unless you kind of have someone helping you see for yourself what the consequences of it really are, can be
yeah.
quite difficult sometimes to sort of break out of that that normality that's all around us. And yeah, I mean, there's like loads of things I can think of over the last few weeks where I've noticed it and I've just been like, what is going on? Like, so when I was in Spain, we were walking down to the restaurant, me, my mum, my dad, and my girlfriend, and I see this girl. Well, I see this woman pushing this girl, and this girl's probably like, I don't know, girl. She was a baby, right? She's like, I don't know, 2 years old. I don't know, girl, baby, what do you call them at that age? Who knows? 2, 3 years old, something like that. Toddler. There we go. Thank you, Mary.
You're
Not really
welcome.
with it today, am I?
Yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
not either, so we're
there's
good.
this okay, sweet. There's
Yeah.
this toddler in a pram, and yeah, she's just there like on her iPad as her mum pushes her, and I'm just like, what on earth? And then yesterday, me and my mum and my dad were out for a meal, and yeah, there's a couple of adults out for a meal as well, and they had a kid, and maybe that kid's about 5 or 6, and again, it's just like shoved in front of an iPad, just there with a screen, and I just think it's so insane. I'm really glad that my girlfriend is so like, yeah, let's not do that. Like she's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
like, if we have kids, they're not having screens right in front of them all the time.
yeah,
And then the other thing is today, so I got like a bit of it's quite funny actually, but I think it was my script. I had a little bit of paper in the phone charging sort of port on my iPhone, right? I'm pretty sure it was a bit of the script because I had my script in my pocket. And
yeah,
so that's inside the iPhone. So I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to have to go to the Apple store. Now,
yeah,
unfortunately, I work and live in town. So the Apple store is like a 15 minutes walk from the office where I've been working at lately. So I go there and they've got these headsets and it was like £3,500 as well, which is a lot of money in my opinion. So there's these headsets now where it seemed like it's a bit like you have your iPhone, but like in this headset, and then you're like controlling all your work and different shit through
God.
this headset now. And
You
it
mean
just
like a
looked
VR
mental.
set?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it
Oh
seems
god.
crazy. So that's the
Yeah.
future.
Speaking of screens, so my friend wants to go to Olive Garden and I like it. I mean, it's, a chain, whatever, but they have good lasagna and they give you that never-ending bowl of salad and stuff. I can be down with Olive Garden every now and then, but now the tables, they have there's a screen on the tables where you like put it, let the server come to your table and talk to you, have a conversation with you. You have this screen on your table where now you're gonna punch in whatever you want to order or what it just is. It's just annoying to me. I can't deal
Yeah,
with it. So, but yeah, can
yeah,
we
yeah.
talk about I wanted to talk a little bit about the AI thing.
But yeah, what was it you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's just it's just like another extension of all this internet crap. Um and the guys being wired for it now did a Liberation Day call yesterday, and this person was like, the AI the AI was like talking to him. Oh, chat GPT. Okay. I sent you a message, killmenow.com. My favorite expression when I'm really like disgusted with something. So he's talking to the chat GPT about being like lonely and feeling, kind of sad about it or whatever. And he tells me that the the chat GPT that he went to another one because it was like getting boring and it like was like this woman's voice or something. Then you went to the other one, which was like the sexy one or something. And then she starts calling him by his name. And I'm like, dude, this is not some woman who loves you and is like comforting you and saying your name. They are motivated by manipulating you and making you think that they like you or that or whatever because they're what are they going to get more algorithms marketing? It's all marketing.
Mm,
It's all money based. And I'm like, it just made me think of like the boys getting addicted to porn when they're young, and then you're gonna have some chat GPT chick. This chat GPT stuff is like, it just is gonna validate you. the last thing you need, I mean, therapists do it, but the last thing you need when you're having this addictive thinking is someone validating you and telling
Mm,
you that, yes, you're lonely and it's okay. And, I'll talk to you. And now let's go into the sexy mode. And just pissed me, right? Really pissed me off because, we had
yeah.
this client for a long time and I love working with him, and just to see that he gets sucked in by this, you know, just manipulation. It's manipulation. And I said, if I were
Mm,
you, I would get pissed off because she's a poser. She's phony. She doesn't care about you. This is not a relationship, but they know how to manipulate people and it sucks, and yeah, okay, AI, use AI in a reasonable way for things that, are it's useful. But Chat GPT, I mean, I guess Chat GPT is just like the person you talk to get to the AI. I don't even know. I don't fucking care, really. Seriously, that's about how much I care about this shit. I'm trying to understand it. Just like what the fuck, Chat GPT. Okay, you're talking to some chick who's gonna connect you to the AI, like whatever. It's like
nah, I don't
get
think that's
on
how it
there.
works. I don't think
Whatever
I don't
how it
think
works. It's
I don't
not
think
a
there's
good
any
thing, Tom. It's
I
not a
don't
good
think there's
thing.
any real people at all involved.
Well,
There's a wicked
it's
film though. I forgot what it's called. It's like what's his name? Do you know the actor Joaquin Phoenix or something like that? What's his
Joaquin
name?
Phoenix. Yeah, yeah,
Wa-
yep.
yeah,
Joaquin.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it's him who's in a wicked film, and he's got like a AI like woman in his like ear. Oh, and there's Blade Runner
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
2049 as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I know this
Yeah,
film. I think I tr
really,
I
it's
tried
a
to
great
you told
film.
me about it a long time ago, I think. I tried to watch it, but I wanna watch it now.
Yeah, I want to watch that one again as well.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think AI would be okay if they were like extrapolating their information from good sources. Like if they were well, like
Yeah.
I don't know, that's probably too big a word. It's probably the wrong word, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to sound too clever. But if they were getting their information from people who knew what they were talking about that had good
Yeah.
solutions, AI for addiction wouldn't be too bad. In my opinion. I don't think you need someone to like be there caring for you. But what you definitely don't need is validation of your hurt feelings, especially in addiction, because as you say, it's the addicted part of the mind doing the talking. So yeah, I was out on Saturday and one of my mates had a bit of a problem with Instagram and she's spending too much time consuming the news on it, right? And just there were so many junky thoughts, which would definitely get validated by other therapists. I mean, I freaking love this woman to bits. She's great. But she is like training to be a therapist herself as well. So, she's probably not able to identify these thoughts like, I need to know what's going on in the world, I have to know, and things like that when it's like, okay, well that's bullshit. You don't need to know what's going on
Yeah.
in the world. And I was so assertive about it as well, which in a way I'm kind of proud of myself for, because in the past I would have been kind of scared and probably validated
Yeah.
it and been like, oh yeah, I know it's so difficult. The algorithm's against you. Everyone's on it nowadays. Oh, Silicon Valley, they've got billions of money, blah 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 blah. Like I used to always kind of
Helplessness.
have that attitude, but yeah, it's helplessness. And it's like, well, actually, you're the one in control. It's up to you what you
Yeah.
do. And then what I did is I started to share with her, like, look, you do so much freaking good stuff in the world. Like this woman, she's probably the person who I know who's done the most volunteering work, like gone over and helped like refugees, and she's helped people in really, really awful circumstances. So I try to help her see as well, like how much she is doing in the world that's good, because her junkie thinking was like, I need to always be consuming the news to like know how to do good in the world. But I'm like, well, that's not actually helping you do any good at all. Like you going and doing your shifts at Samaritans, that's good shit. Like you're actually helping a real person there. Like you should be proud of that shit. But going on Instagram ain't helping no one.
Therapists notoriously validate junkie thinking. And there's a human being sitting there with a person who's, if they've let their therapist know that they're struggling with addiction, which sometimes they don't, sometimes they do, then maybe they could help them identify some incorrect thinking that's junky thinking or whatever. But there's no way AI is going to do that. AI wants to please you and it wants to it's going to validate junky thinking. It's like the guy who was having the suicidal thoughts had the chat GPT talked him into killing himself, basically, I mean, it's there are there's junky thinking. I mean, c we should do it sometime. That would be so cool. Let's take a junky thinking and unanswerable questions, and let's talk to Chat GPT. I don't even know how to do that. You'd have to show me how to do
Could do
that,
it now if
but
you
we
want.
should do it sometime. Oh my god, that would be such a fun YouTuber podcast where we talk to the Chat GPT, and I can guarantee you they're gonna validate shit, and they're gonna have people engaging in their addictions for sure. 'Cause, like, I remember one time I called up Patricia, and I'm like, I was working with this smoker, and her junky thinking was so convincing and convoluted. I was like, "Man, we all might as well just smoke," you know? And then, like, I called Patricia, and, like, we figured out the where the bullshit was in the junky thinking, but, the thing is this book, it's called The Heart of Addiction. This guy talks about how when people are addicted, the shit that they spew, which is all junky thinking, is so convincing
Mm.
that everybody around them buys into it and validates their behavior, because the addictive part of the mind can be so shrewd, and Chat GPT is going to validate that shit 100%. And it's going to talk people right back into engaging in their addictions, you
Should we give
know?
it a go? I can do it on my phone now. Like, it'll only take me.
I'm down. This
Alright,
could be
sweet.
good. Oh my god.
Let's have a bit of fun. Alright. I'm gonna say, is it okay for me to watch porn? It's been over a year now, so I don't.
Cured.
Yeah, okay. So I am cured. What about once won't hurt, will it?
Yeah.
Question mark. Let's see what it says. Ah, okay. Oh, hello. It's quite a good start, to be fair.
Okay.
I hear the conflict in what you're asking. That's good. We talk about the constant conflict.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've been intentionally avoiding porn for over a year. Junkie thinking right away because
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't avoid porn.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
face the desire head on. You think it
Yeah.
through. You
Yeah.
make a rational choice. Anyway, which likely took a lot of effort and meant something important to you. Whether watching again is okay depends on your goals and values. Not too bad. If you stop porn, if you stopped because porn was negatively affecting your life, then just once could risk pulling you back into old patterns. For many people with an addictive cycle, that one time can restart the cravings. To be fair, that's pretty good so far,
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, actually. I'm
right?
surprised. Yeah.
I'll carry on.
I take it all back, Chat GPT. Go, you go. How
I'll,
about this?
Wait,
How about
no, I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. I'm not
Okay,
finished
okay,
yet.
okay.
Because we might get to some bullshit. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it says, if you stop for reasons tied more to curiosity, values, or a personal challenge, you might feel differently, but it's still worth asking. Would watching now help me or set me back from what I've achieved? All right, unanswerable question. Then it says, some questions that might help you think it through. How did porn use affect you before you quit? Not a bad question, to be fair. How do you feel about the progress you've made in the last year? Okay. And then if you watch now, how will you feel how will you feel tomorrow? Proud, indifferent, or disappointed? If you've genuinely felt cured and are thriving without it, you may want to consider whether reintroducing it is worth the risk. Often
Mhm.
people who quit feel much better in the long run by not going back. Would you like me to share some strategies people use when they get tempted after a long streak so you can weigh your options with a clearer head? I actually don't think that's that bad, to be fair.
Nope, it's not. So what are the strategies?
All right, so I've replied saying okay. Number one, pause before acting. Give yourself a buffer. Urges often feel urgent, but they pass if you wait. And then here's the bullshit. Okay.
Okay.
Even 10 to 15 minutes of distraction, brackets, a walk, push ups, music, journaling
Yeah.
can
Here we
shrink the
go.
craving. Can
Yeah.
shrink the craving.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. The next one, oh no, it does get pretty bad actually. The next one is play the tape forward. This one's not too bad. Imagine not just watching, but how you'll feel after. Will you feel satisfied or more likely frustrated that you broke a streak you worked hard for? Reminding yourself of the after effects often helps. I don't think that's too bad.
Let's do a different junky thought.
Okay, sure. By the way, the other points though were like replace the urge with a reward, revisit your why, accountability, remind yourself it's not harmless. But yeah, let's do a different junkie thought. Do you want to give me one?
If I don't engage in my addictive behavior right now, I'm going to become very depressed and could do something harmful to myself.
Okay. Geez, that's pretty dark. And could do
Standard
something
shit, Tom.
true. It is. Okay, let me see. I've just sent it now. Let's see what we get back. By the way, I'm on Chat GPT 5 as well, which I think is like the most advanced right now anyway, available. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe it's not the most
yeah.
advanced one, but I pay for it either way, which you might think is silly, but I quite like it for some business things I do. Okay, that's taken forever to get a response. But I think more importantly is like the whole idea of always going to something external for help when it comes to cravings is a very
Yeah.
bad idea. I mean, what you want to do instead is get an education and then crack on. It's a little bit like if you, I don't know, you wanted to get like a job or something, just in any area of your life, let's say you wanted to get a job. If you were like always asking people for help and support in getting your job and you never actually applied for anything, or you were always like learning and just getting more and more education, but not actually implementing anything, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
that useful. And what we do at the Beyond Compulsion Academy is a bit like, you come to the university, like you get your education and then you crack on and do the work yourself. And it's like, that's the important thing. But anyway, here's a response. It says, I'm really glad you told me that. If you're feeling like you might harm yourself, that's a serious moment and you don't have to go through it alone. And then, yeah, they've sent some, actually, that's quite good because they've sent some like sort of helplines, one of which
Yeah,
is the
of course,
Samaritans.
suicide helplines, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking when you said that. Um, Okay, it does say right now, if the urge to use your addictive behavior feels like the only thing keeping you from hurting yourself, it's a sign that you're under a lot of emotional pain. In moments like this, your safety is the far most important thing, far more important than whether you relapse or not. Um, and then, yeah, it talks about breathing, grounding exercises, call or texting a family friend or
The
member.
usual, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, if you're actually in that position where you are seriously thinking about harming yourself, I probably would, definitely call someone who you can get actual like trained support for, like the Samaritans, for example. And I think they've got some crisis lifeline, you know,
Yeah.
people you can contact online.
Yeah, we've got that in Oregon now, a number you can call.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which
But
is
the
good.
thing is, the unanswerable questions, we can't underestimate how effective a ploy that is to get people back in their addictions. And and ChatGPT is going to try to answer whatever the question is.
Mm,
And now you've
mm,
engaged with that. And
yeah,
I just don't see how it's going to be helpful, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But people are so into it. I don't understand. I don't want to talk to a robot.
Hmm.
That's just me. I guess it's just me, but everybody uses this thing. I mean, when I asked a question on Google,
Mm,
I take it out of AI mode
mm,
so that I can see like just all the options, right? Of like not this is the answer that AI gives you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I want to see like the other options so that I can weigh the options and with what I know, and but I guess it's just the way of the world now.
yeah, yeah. I think the
Talking to
dangerous the
robots.
dangerous thing about it is like for any real big behavior change, that's got to be driven by thoughts, in my opinion, on some level. And if we're kind of feeding this massive machine more and more of the same
Yeah.
thoughts, the same circle kind of dialogues, the same way in which, I've just sent it then as well, like, is it okay to masturbate? And what happened is, Chat GPT's sent me a number of questions back, to kind of consider and weigh up, etc., etc. But unless there's anything that takes into account the reality of unanswerable questions, we're kind of just going to be in this like vortex
Well, there
spinning
it is right
around, right?
there. You asked ChatGPT if it's okay to masturbate, unanswerable question. Okay, and what, so it's going to ask you a bunch of more questions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then you can
exactly.
ask it another question, then it can ask you a question, and then you can ask it a question, and there you are, spinning out on your phone on talking to a robot. You know, when it comes to like businesses and stuff, people that I want to give my money to do business, if I'm gonna talk to a bot, I'm gonna go to someone else. I don't talk to bots. I'm just, it's just, but it is the way of the world, and people are so used to it. That again, you can't avoid it. I mean, you can avoid it, but to a certain extent, it's much more difficult to avoid. Engaging with bots all the time, but if you can recognize that a bot is going to validate you, you know,
Mm.
it's so funny too. I went to a therapist a long time ago, long, long, long time ago for a breakup. I was in the middle of this breakup and I knew I was spewing bullshit, and she was validating me. I kept sitting there thinking, and she was obese too. So that I right out of the gate, I'm like, okay, here I'm like, the therapist is like an addict, so that kind of
Mm.
bugged me. Um, but yeah, I was like, I knew. I was like throwing out junky thinking, and I knew it was bullshit, and she was totally validating me.
Yeah. I was,
So
I was on a
I don't know.
call. I was on a call last week with a client. It was quite funny because, well, it wasn't funny actually, but he was just spouting so much bullshit from the addictive part of the mind. But the good thing about it that made it quite good is like, so he spouted about 10 minutes worth of just unanswerable questions, junky thoughts, just giving me an update on stuff. And then by the end of the 10 minutes, he was like, "Look, Tom, I know that pretty much everything I just said there was bullshit from the addicted part of the mind." Like,
Yeah,
like he's
yeah,
so aware of it though. He's just like, look, I'm not making sense right now. I know this is all just junky thinking. It's
yeah.
like,
I know. I love it
well,
when
yeah.
clients do that. They like, okay, they'll be like, they'll go off into unanswerable question land, and then they'll just be like, oh, never mind. I know I'm
Hmm.
full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's cool too is I've been noticing in the Liberation Day calls, the guys will like they're literally quote me verbatim, from the videos, and I'm like, wow, they're really paying attention. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
important. And it goes back to, making this your number one priority. I think
yeah,
the thing is, the reason a lot of people won't ever make this their number one priority, unfortunately, is because they don't understand what we talked about earlier about the reasons to engage. Because a lot of people think the reasons that they engage is because they're depressed, lonely, anxious, they have low confidence, blah, 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 all these kind of like fixed mindset sort of ideas. But the reality is, when it comes to compulsion, a lot of the time, when you've dealt with compulsion correctly, you do end up just with this like peace of mind because you're making rational choices. You're making decisions moment by moment that you can be proud of and you respect yourself. And it's very hard to have like low confidence or be depressed when just day by day you're making good choices. Like it's very, very hard to actually be down on yourself in that situation.
yeah,
So if you make this your number one priority, everything sort of does change, which is really
yeah.
cool. And we had a message actually. I put this in my email today. I don't know if you saw it, but one of our guys who's been in the program a little while
I
sent
did
a
see.
really cool. Did, Sorry, did you say something there?
I did see it.
Wait, do you know which one I'm about to say in my email today? Oh, that one. Yeah, because you have seen
Yeah,
my email, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
hmm
What did I say? It was something about self mastery, right? Can you remember it? I'm
yeah.
just gonna
Something
find it in
about
my
that.
email
I
today.
can't remember verbatim, and I can't see because I'm taping on my
Yeah, I
phone right now.
found it. I found it.
Yeah,
So he said, oh yeah, because he was replying to a different client, and then he was like, "I also came for the porn addiction and realized this program is like a masterclass on self control, self mastery. It's all about what are you choosing to do and why." I think that's
yeah,
so accurate because yes, addiction recovery is 100% about stopping behaviors that you want to stop, but I think a lot of people don't understand that once you do that, you're wasting zero time. Like you're literally no longer engaging in any behavior that you want to stop. And it's almost like this whole world of self-improvement, and there's a million like online courses now on all of these different random topics. But when you really boil it down, it's all quite simple.
Yeah.
And that's where this like Occam's razor comes in, which
Yeah.
maybe we'll call this podcast like Occam's razor or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is you can stop an addiction, an addictive behavior, and not make any changes. You know, what might change is you might go on to another addictive behavior, you know, which is if you stop and change the pathway of that compulsive desire, then you can be the master of your own choices, and
Mm,
it can change in all regards, not just okay, I stopped doing this one thing that was harming my life, but now I'm going to go do this other thing. You know, it's
100%.
not really accomplishing much of anything. What you accomplish is changing the consequences of compulsive behavior from one to another, but not
Yeah.
mastering your own mind by changing your pathways consistently so you can always feel in control of what you're going to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
spoke
have
to a
peace of mind.
guy
Yeah.
spoke to a guy earlier today who asked me, what do I do with like masturbation? We actually had a different
Right.
guy message us about that as well, right? So there's been two
Yeah.
different guys today talk to me about sort of masturbation in the context of porn addiction recovery, like the unanswerable question in a way of do I stop masturbating as well as stopping porn, right? It's like one of the most common messages you'll ever find in like nofap communities and everywhere online, right? And the thing is, it goes back to understanding the problem once again, and understanding that the problem isn't just, okay, I'm watching porn. Ah, that's the problem. It's understanding that the problem is you're out of control. You're making
Yeah.
choices that don't align with your values. You don't know how to stop a behavior
Yeah.
that you want to stop. Like, just look at that plainly. That is a massive, massive problem in your life. That was the biggest problem in my life for 10 years, right? So, okay, if we look again at this thing about masturbation, this guy I was talking to on the phone today, he was on about how he basically did want to stop masturbating, but it went to the constant conflict. It's like, yeah, you do want to stop masturbating, but you also want to masturbate. And I think in
Yeah.
his mind, he hadn't realized that it was actually even possible to like stop masturbating. So I kind of
Yeah.
shared my story with him, which is like, for me personally, what I did is I stopped masturbating for over a year. I wanted to really sort of just kind of check the legitimacy of the beyond compulsion method in a way and apply it and make sure, okay, this works. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to use this for masturbation. And then, maybe when I've done a year or whatever, then I'll kind of go, okay, maybe we'll see. Maybe reasonable engagement at reasonable times, right? Let's see.
Yeah.
I didn't put like a hard limit on that. It was never like, okay, I'm going to get to a year. I was like counting every single day. It was just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
generally speaking, we'll probably see about a year without masturbation to use a script for that desire, and then let's
Yeah.
see. That's what I tried. I did that. And then, over the last few months, I've masturbated a few times. And then I've come to the conclusion after masturbating a few times, yeah, you know what? That's not that great.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of going to weigh that up. I mean, I can always choose to do that if I want. But overall, the consequences for me outweigh the benefits. So I've decided, yeah, I'm going to stop that behavior again. And I don't think I ever will masturbate again now, because I've decided, okay, I've done it a few times. Yeah, I don't really like how it makes me feel
Yeah.
overall. Okay, let's put that to one side. Job done, right? And that's what you
Yeah.
want to do, is get to a position where literally any single behavior in your life, with 100% confidence. If you want to stop that behavior, you're good. You can stop that at any point. Like that's
Yeah.
that's such a good position to be in. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we should all be sort of aiming towards, is getting that self mastery, that self control, where you can literally just pick and choose what you want to do moment by moment.
Yeah. For sure. Jedi's.
Jedi's, yeah,
Jedi's versus
you,
Wallies.
yeah, yeah,
That's what you could call the podcast. You wanna be a Jedi or a Wall-E, like your email today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a
I'm
bad
telling
idea.
you, the Wall-Es are everywhere, man. You just walk down the street, go to the grocery store. Although it seems
Yeah.
like a lot of the Wall-Es don't even go in the grocery store. Maybe they have someone go in for them. They're just sitting in the car. They can't too obese to get out on their phones, and it's like the Wall-Es, man. It's
Well,
real. They got the big gulps, you know?
I
Trying
was back
big
home.
gulp in your phone.
I was back home yesterday in Sheffield, and my mum's got these tiny Diet Cokes in the kitchen, like these tiny cans. And I'm like, Mum, what's the crack with this Diet Coke? Like, can I have one? Like, why is it so small? It's like 150 milliliters instead of the usual like 330 milliliter can.
Yeah, yeah,
And she's like, Tom, I messed up there. I meant to order the proper cans, but she'd ordered it all online, right? Now that's different because she's got like a disability and that's what she
yeah,
chooses. It's a bit more difficult for her to get to the shops. I mean, she could do it, right?
yeah,
But yeah, it's little shit like that where you're like, oh my god, can you imagine? Like you order the wrong food or the wrong drinks because you're ordering online instead of going out and actually getting the stuff, and it's
yeah,
just yeah, it's just not a good way to live. I mean, if you don't have to anyway, then
yeah.
yeah, choose
And
to go out
Diet
and get your
Coke's really
groceries.
bad. Tell your mom stop drinking that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I had a can to be fair. It's not great for you, but
It
reasonable
tastes
engagement at reasonable
nasty. It
times.
tastes nasty, and it's just got so much bad stuff in it for you. If you're gonna have a soda, have a damn soda, you know?
What do you have?
Well, I don't well, I do buy soda. I don't drink it very much, but I buy, the Boylan, I think they're called Boylan,
What
and
even is
they're
soda, by the way? Is soda just like fizzy drinks? You hear it all the time on
no,
like
that's just
TV.
fizzy water. I can't deal with that shit either. It's like, what's the point? What do you want bubbles in water for, you know, if
No,
you're
no, 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 Mary. Soda. Like it's not really a word we
soda.
use here that much.
Oh,
So,
I got you. It's like
yeah,
pop,
pop. Like, do
pop.
you just mean does that like include like Fanta, Coca Cola, Pepsi?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that all
soda.
under the name
What
of
do you
soda, right?
call it? What do you call it?
I mean, we do kind of call. Sometimes you call it
Soda?
soda, and you
Soda
obviously
pop.
see that in films, TV series. But we'd probably call it just like a fizzy drink or a soft
We
drink.
call it soda or soda pop,
Yeah,
pop.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, so like I like the Boylans. I buy usually the black cherry Boylan or the cream soda Boylan. But the thing is I have their bottles with the actual glass bottles with the bottle cap. But I have from this particular tequila, the cap fits perfectly. You can screw it on the Boylans, right? So if I have a Boylan bottle of soda, it's like a 12-ounce bottle of soda, right? I'll have that. I use the resealable, tequila top, and I'll have like 4 servings out of a 12
yeah.
ounce bottle, but it's real soda and not all this like faux soda stuff, it's
Mm.
I don't understand that, It's like, but people think, "Oh, sugar's the problem. Sugar's addictive. Sugar's this, sugar that." Oh, well, no, it's like reasonable, reasonable soda, and I like it to taste good. And
Mm.
like, what's with this stevia crap? Have you tried that ever? It's like the faux sweetener. That stuff tastes so bad.
No.
Stevia, they're putting it in everything because like people want to like drink constantly, and so you gotta have no
Yeah.
calories in what you're drinking. Well, why do you wanna drink constantly? Why don't you have a little
Yeah.
soda? Have a little soda. Really, literally, I put, like, a couple ice cubes in, like, this much, and, I drink out of obviously, I drink out of mason jars, right? So,
I feel
have a
like
little
everything's
soda.
so amplified over there. Like we used to watch this program. We got shown it at school called like Super Size Me. Is it called Super
Yeah.
Size Me? Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. They got
supersize me.
like
The guy who
uh,
eats McDonald's for a month, supersize
yeah, yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at McDonald's in the States, you're like Coca Colas and stuff. Like the size difference is crazy over here.
Big
Like
gulp.
this is a bottle. This is a bottle of just M&S still spring water, not just any,
Yeah.
not just any still water. M&S water. To my UK people, you might get that joke, but it's not very funny. But anyway, this is like a 500 milliliter bottle. So the Diet Coke I'm on about yesterday is probably about that big, right? It's
Yeah.
tiny. But in America, I'm pretty sure everything's a lot bigger. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, the big gulp, I can't even understand it. And
Yeah.
it's kinda like the Wall-E mentality, It's like
Mm,
people, they literally in the pictures of the Wall-E characters, they've got the big gulp sitting in their thing, the
big
whatever they're
gulp.
sitting in this, like, whatever, it's like
Yeah.
a chair. It's like a lounge chair with a screen and then their big gulp soda, I'm just like, "Why would anyone ever wanna drink that much soda?" I mean, I
Yeah.
feel
It's
like
bad.
you would just be sick, you
I'd just be
know?
burping all the time. Just be like,
Right. I
yeah,
just like it's just I feel like a little bit of soda like sometimes I like the soda, like the black cherry, and mostly like the cream soda because like if I eat something really spicy,
Mm.
sweet cuts heat, right? So if you're eating something really spicy and your mouth feels hot, you have a little bit of sweet, then it sweet cuts heat, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Like,
remember when I was younger, I went to a Mexican restaurant in the States on holiday, and I had these nachos, and they were like covered in some really spicy sauce. And I remember my head just completely falling off. And then we had
yeah,
like, I think we had like some milkshakes or something.
yeah,
Because yeah, I mean, it helps, doesn't it? Anyway, Mary, I'm gonna have to go because I got football in like
okay,
half an hour.
cool.
But yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast again.
Sure. Yeah. We're a
Me and
little
yeah,
all over the map
co-host.
today, but hey, we knew we didn't have a specific topic and
I think
hopefully everything was helpful though.
hopefully, I think just like hearing your perspective on the world and shit can be really useful. It is to me anyway. Hopefully, there's other people like myself out there
Yeah.
who kind of want this perspective and can
Some
kind of
people
see
probably just want
things.
to tell me to shut up, but whatever.
Probably do, but they can go listen to someone else if that's what they.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you know what
right.
I mean?
Go listen to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, yeah. If you want, if you want.
Whatever.
All
Whatever.
right, nice one. And
Difficult. Yeah.
to anyone listening, if you want to learn more about the Beyond Compulsion method, go to www.beyondcompulsionacademy.com. You get a free training video there. You can do the compulsion test. Got a ton of blogs there as well. So yeah, recommend all of that stuff. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
See ya.